Hi, everybody. Welcome to another segment where I highlight members inside of my private Facebook community, highlighting members in of their own self-love stories. So if you're looking for another story of how someone went from experiencing a lot of pains to practicing self-love, and it looks differently to all of us, and I'm going to be asking about the events that has led her to practice self-love. And I'm also going to be highlighting and asking her, well, what kind of practices has helped her immensely? And at the end, I'm going to ask her, why do you believe self-love is tremendously important, especially right now? So before I get her on here, what I'm going to be doing is sharing it in my self-love community and stuff. So, well, she's already here, so let me go ahead and bring her on. Yeah. I get really excited, and so if you guys are watching the replay or if you guys are live now, let us know that you're here. Let us know, what does self-love mean to you? What has your experiences has been with self-love? What are you struggling with? And what brought you here to join us on this live? So just know this is a safe space to express yourself and chime in with us. So I was just adding her. I don't know what happened. Nikki! Hold on, let me click on your thing again. Okay, I just did it again. So, yes. We're about to start. We are about to start.
Okay, I'm finally here.
Yay! Okay, so give me a second here. I am just, I'm just going to share this in my self-love community, which you're in. But yeah, I guess you can introduce yourself. I mean, I put a little bit about you in my intro or up there, where, you're a singer, songwriter, music producer. I know music is your passion, and you're a friend. You're a member of FEMWINISM. If you guys didn't know already, we both are a member of the nonprofit organization called FEMWINISM, where we provide resources and tools because the slogan is the idea of seeing a female win. So if you guys are curious about that, let us know. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess. How would you even answer that? Who am I?
I know, you said it. You described me so well, giving all the details. Yeah, those are the things I do. That's where I spend a lot of my time, but I really like to garden, and I'm definitely very passionate about what's going on right now for the Black Lives Matter movement, and very passionate about activism and speaking up, and love my family, love to work out.
Right? That's self-love practice right there. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking some time out. I know you got off of work not too long ago, and you already know we know each other. It's always a safe space for you to express whatever it is that you feel that's on your heart to express. And we're going to talk about self-love and your journey. And so to segue into that, my question to you is, if you reflect and think about some events that happened, or some moments that occurred that led you to even think about self-love and what that is, and actually getting into the practice of it, what would you say those events or moments were? That comes to light to you right now?
Yeah, well, definitely, I think the first life-changing moment was when I went to college and discovered music. Sorry, my voice.
No worries.
Yeah, just finding something. I just remember kind of playing with the ukulele, or my friend, played chords on the piano and just singing over them, and I just felt so free and unapologetic, and I was just this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And it was just this extreme emotion and pulling, and I was feeling that's who I, this is giving me empowerment and fuel. And in high school growing up, I always felt I was just super invisible, and I rarely ever spoke up. I was really shy. I didn't have many
Same.
friends. Yeah, and it was just like my identity. I just didn't know who I am, but like inside, I was like into like creation and like wanted to just connect with people. So I think finding music was like this, and it's been this crazy journey, but just almost having that as like a best friend and a confidant, it feels like, being able to pour out my thoughts into melodies and lyrics has a lot of value to it. So,
Okay, so it was your like exposure to music
hmm,
and also having a friend that was like musical as well in
yeah.
college.
And then I
Okay.
kind of started to find like creative communities and groups that were people that were interested in creating and talking about building things and having discussions about life and who we are and building each other up. And I was like, wow, this is up my alley. Like I felt so out of place in college when just people would go like party and drink. And I do it sometimes, but I never felt good about myself later, and I always felt like I didn't fit in too. So I was like there trying to have fun, but felt
Mm.
self-conscious. And then I
Oh,
yeah, definitely felt like powerful and just like things would work out, when I was following what I felt like my heart was telling me to do.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to highlight what you said about like finding a community,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I feel like I would have never would have stumbled across the word self-love or even know what that was if I didn't choose to find community. And from
Mm-hmm.
being around a positive community that you feel that's more like you, I mean, things that are going to be helpful to your life is going to be found within that community, or that community can connect you with, other individuals or maybe other communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking to my mom last night and I told my mom, you know what it was that really helped me? It was my environment and the people in that environment, because that just opened my eyes to like more possibilities and more tools for me to support myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so when you got into self love, like what kind of pains were you like going through that you feel like self love really helped you a lot in? Because I know a lot of us, we have our own different struggles, as people say.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it was definitely relationships. It's always relationships, but you
Yeah.
guys have heard my story where I was always in one. That's all I knew. And I was like terrified of being by myself. So like that was the pain that I was healing from. Of course, there's so many layers underneath that. But what do you
Mm.
feel like was the pain that was building up for you that self-love really helped you like dig in and really heal from that?
Yeah, well, I definitely think like kind of from what I mentioned earlier about, growing up and not feeling like I fit in with people. So there's
Yes,
there's
for
still
sure.
this wound of like feeling lonely and feeling left out and just constantly worrying about if people like me or judging me. And kind of things that I would do to block that out was like I'm totally a workaholic. And, up until the last
Mm,
year did I really realize that I was just working so much, like I wasn't allowing myself to just like have the time to process things and to, feel this pain and to like build up my own self worth because I was just spending all my time just working, 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 and then same with I think like finding value in wanting a partner or dating and like just have like I think so I've had one relationship which was a turning point in a way.
mm,
Another big event, I guess, other than the music, and it was kind of like what from me before the relationship to being like, oh, this is what I need to feel like whole and complete. This is what I'm missing. Everything's gonna work out, and like going through it. And yes, it was like a very like painful experience, but like also like beautiful, the beautiful things that a
mm,
relationship has. And just like being
yeah,
single and like processing it after and just realizing that I freaking love being single. And it was really cool to
right.
kind of
Whole
like
new
have that
world.
shift. Yeah. And it's crazy because the pain will still come up sometimes of being lonely
Oh yeah.
and realizing that like I still am not there yet where I feel like I'm wanting anytime I date somebody or I'm like liking somebody, it doesn't seem like it's for this the best reasons, because it just has so much control over me and control over how I define my worth. So,
Oh, I like that, like how to
mm-hmm,
gauge if something is really good for you, if you feel like
mm,
something outside of you is taking control over you, like over your emotions, over how you're
yeah,
feeling. That could
mm,
be a huge indicator that maybe we're not ready to connect with somebody right now or invite somebody in our lives to partner up right now, because
mm-hmm,
I need to feel like I have control. Like I need to feel that I am like having this like strong foundation.
yeah,
um
yeah. It's the
yeah.
foundation, right? Because I think, sometimes I get mixed up in my head of like, when will the day be that I like don't deal with this stuff anymore and I'm like not going through pain and I'm like strong and I can like handle other people, but that day's never going to come, right? We're always going to be evolving and going through things and dealing with the moment. So I think it's important to realize that, you just really have to understand like who you are and like what you go to help process with when things come up.
Yes, perfect.
Hmm.
What did you say? Where to go to process your stuff? So with that
Yeah.
said, what has been some tools or practices, like self-love practices, that has supported you in processing those pains?
Yeah. Working out for sure, I think has always just been a very consistent one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's been many times in my life where I'm like working out and other things aren't falling into place too. Especially when I'm doing it
Yes.
consistent.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, I
Right. It's
think
not a
it,
surprise.
yeah, it clears, because I'll feel so much tension physically, and then obviously like anxiety and other emotions and mental, just like the thought, like my brain can attack itself sometimes, and
Oh
just like
yeah.
working out can really help mitigate that. So that's definitely a big one.
You and I
Yeah.
relate with that too. I feel like when I'm sweating, something is being released, and ideas always come up in my head.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like the clarity. So I relate so much on the working out, because when you work out, you sweat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love what you said about, there's never a time that I can remember where after I worked out or when I was working out consistently that it didn't feel like things were falling into place, Like
Yeah, or like
you can't think of a time
everything.
where things weren't falling into place
Yeah.
like it was. Yeah.
Yeah, at least, what I was going through before that wasn't quite as bad. I mean, maybe there
Hmm.
were like some times when like going through grief or something, but for the most part, just like the day to day, you know, just brain stuff and like interactions and big things, like things that are happening right now, there's just so much going on and so much to process and so much to unpack. And,
Yeah.
you just have to take that moment to like sweat it out, like get some of that energy out of you, of what you're reading. And so that way you can in turn figure out what work you need to do to solve the problem instead of just sitting in the pain and emotion and your thoughts racing. So,
Right? It's a release. It's a
mm-hmm,
release, everybody. And you open up space, you open up solutions, you open up answers
mm-hmm,
that were already there.
mm,
But so when you work out, it's like you're clearing something up to find what you need in that practice.
mm-hmm.
Awesome. What other tools or practices
Yes.
come up for you that's been helpful?
Yeah, well, making music, of course. It's like I said, it feels like my best friend. I mean, there's definitely, it's not always it's not always what I need, because it does come with added, just expectation or pressures I put on
Yes.
myself, or
Hmm.
sometimes I feel like creating requires a lot of energy and like is very, um, it just requires energy and like you to be in a certain state. And so like there's always going to be the recovery side of it too. We can't sustain just like create, like pour ourselves out, like do these things that take so much of us. So um, but yeah, like in the moments that I am just like making music, and I feel like I know myself better than any other moment, because it's just
Mm.
like it's giving me the answers. I think with music, you know, with people, sometimes you'll give and they take and don't give back, or with a lot of other things. But with music, it's definitely every ounce of energy I give to it, like it always gives it right back. And it's like while it's happening. So it's not like, let me wait. let me like make all this music and then like maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. It's like in the moment that I'm like,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you for describing that because my creation is like creating content, creating video, right? So I totally
Mm,
get because like when you create we create something, right? Then we put it out. You know,
mm,
that's another form of expression, but we all know how social media is. There's like this other part where we feel attached to it we feel attached to the reactions, we feel attached
mm.
to the attention that it's getting or not getting. So
Oh,
there's that
yes.
element as well. So I relate so much on that. And I find myself having blocks sometimes. I know that I need to create to express myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's times where I've had to brain dump or like do some sort of a release, like writing my journal before even getting into creation mode. And then from doing that, it gave me energy to go into my creation. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for bringing that up. Yeah. And as you
Yes.
express, you're creating and you're expressing. So I can see how it's like you're giving, you're spending your energy creating, but then as you create, it's creating something where it's fulfilling. So it's like filling you
Mm-hmm.
up as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just seeing this motion
Yes.
going like this as you
Yes.
were describing it.
Exactly. That's exactly that's exactly what it feels like, especially in that just like creation. You know, there's the parts of the process where yeah, like I have that moment. I'm like, this is an amazing idea afterwards, and then I have to actually like discipline myself to figure out how I'm gonna finish this song or produce it, which is you know more about the labor of love. Um,
I like that. Labor of
yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. So it's work.
Awesome. So I
It's
hear
work.
you. It is work, and it's a work,
Hmm.
or it's like it's the inner work. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work that people don't see because it's you and you, would you say?
Hmm.
Like a
Hmm.
lot of the inner work they don't see it unless they're around you a lot or they're witnessing you responding to something in a
Mm.
very like loving way, I want to say. Like she didn't get triggered by that. Oh, look at her
Hmm.
responding with love, you know? Like those are the moments that shows the self-love inner work showing up in moments where the love needs to come out, right?
Mm.
Or like you're able to even see through the pains of something and still show up with love. um but yeah, the inner work, people don't see it, you
Mm-mm.
know.
They don't. They don't. That's what makes it so hard sometimes because people don't see it and you want like, you know, it's just hard to be in the moment and be like, is this going to pay off? Like, do people
Mm,
understand what I'm going through, you know? But it's about just doing it for you and things do pay off. Like, and you know, you just, it's not always exactly what you want, right? It's like
of
you'll
course.
get something else and um, kind of realize, oh, this is where I'm meant to be, like right now. So,
Yes, which also makes me think of like, you know, in during the self-love journey, you learn to let go of expectations as well because you start to experience those moments where this is not what I pictured in my mind,
mm,
but it's actually better than that, or it's actually giving me what I've been needing this whole time.
yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, you know, with self-love, how has it changed your life leading up to what you've been able to create today? Or like, what do you feel like is next for you? What are you working on now that's the result of, you know, self-love? Yeah,
Hmm.
like what are you working on now, or what do you feel like is next for you to step into or to create, um, now that you have, you know, experienced self-love and is, you know, I know you're going to continue to invest in yourself, but what has been the result of that basically?
Yeah, I think definitely learning the power of my voice. You know, I'm a singer. I'm
Yes.
kind of like have like disclose things in my lyrics and kind of create stories around stuff. But I definitely think there's a lot, you know, to be said about speaking up. And I did start a YouTube channel to kind of discuss and offer resources about the music industry. And obviously, with
Yes.
everything going on right now, I feel like I have, you know, it's a duty of mine to speak up about things that go on in my workplace and in my communities, and how, you know, we can create a better humanity and help people, and you know, address systemic racism, which is a really uncomfortable conversation to have most of the
Right.
time. And, you know,
Yes.
unless we just take that chance and say something, and sometimes, you know, it comes out like word vomit, but it's really important to use your voice. And I definitely think self-love and having that conviction really, really matters. And, you know, having the confidence in yourself to know that, like, I'm seeing something and it's not right. And instead of thinking like nobody else here sees it, maybe it's not bad, but like speaking up. And yeah, so definitely right now it's, you know, my friend and I, we were doing a live summer concert series, and we just sent out a letter to everybody today, and we're postponing it for a couple weeks just to kind of let
Mm-hmm.
everything be absorbed right now before we start marketing that. And we kind of reflected, we're like, this is the stuff that's going on in the music industry. A lot of music venues ban hip hop and rap, you know, for whatever reason. You know, we have to figure out why that's happening. There's you know, not good representation of Black people and people of color on the stage. And there's a lot of things in the work that I do that needs to be addressed and dismantled. So I'm just thankful that,
Mm.
you know, I have have my voice to just say what I gotta say, and, you know, don't just be unaware of it. And if people don't like me because of what I say, like, that's where self-love comes in, is, you know, having that core of knowing who you are and knowing what you can do to like release hate that comes your way. So
Yes, yeah. That basically covers the part where I wanted to ask you, yeah, like why do you
mm-hmm.
believe self-love is so important right now?
Yeah.
And I so relate with that, and that's so true. It's like, you know, with self-love, like what we mentioned before, where it helps you release the stress.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you release the tension. It releases your blocks where you can find solution to things, find the answer to things. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be supporters behind anti Black Lives Matter, right? Like that's a whole woo, big
Mm-hmm.
issue, and there's so much history to it. There's so much, I mean, I'm like being exposed to terms that I didn't even know before. And so how can we learn and open ourselves to be supporters of that if we're having blocks, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you said about the voice and confidence. But with that said, what else? I feel like something else is coming up for you to speak on that.
Yeah. You know, I think like you and I were discussing this other day about like what are we quick to judge? And I really think, and my roommate and I have been discussing a lot about like identity and the identity we
Mm.
have for ourselves, and like what we know about ourselves and like who we are. And I think when conversations, especially tough conversations like race, come up, you know, if you're just on the offense or on the defense all the time, you know, because you don't want somebody to attack what, you know, you think is yours, or attack the way you live your life. And then we're unable to have these conversations because people are constantly like, no, you're like taking something from me by speaking up about yourself. And that's such like a problem, you know, but I really think it stems from just people not knowing who they are and not having a strong sense of identity and like what their core values are and what they do to like, you know that they're worthy regardless of
Mm.
you know, what other people say. Like, I think especially like in the white community, a lot of people think that this whole movement's going to take something from them. You know what I mean? And like whatever their life is built in America, whatever that is, that they don't have any, you know, if like we dismantled capitalism and workplaces became diverse, and they would, you know, not have as much money and not have as much security. And it's just like, where does that come from? You know, like who are you other than the things you have and, you know, the government that was
Mm.
created for you. And I definitely think it's really important, you know, people got to look within and heal their wounds if they're willing, if they want to be able to have like these conversations and actually listen and understand that every single human being has a different perspective. So it's very much, you know, there's like, we're living in a system that was built to oppress Black people and people of color, but like the individuals who just the silent individuals and, you know, those two that are just defending, you know, the systems that are going on right now, like, you know, kind of have to like look within and be like, wow, this isn't like about me as much as it is about, the, you know, the people and, you know, like understanding that, yeah, it's like not an attack on who you are as a person. So, but if you don't know who you are as a person, then of course you're going to be like, no, how dare you say that to me? Like, you don't know, you know, like your life's not valid. Your life doesn't matter. Mine does too. And it's like, no, this isn't about that, you know? But it really
Mm-hmm.
just, it stems from pain. Like it stems from pain and insecurity. And that's really prevalent. So,
High five on that.
mm-hmm,
You know, I'm so glad that you spoke up on identity and
mm-hmm,
like knowing who you are, and how many people would you say really know who they are, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, I remember I was swayed into doing or believing in all kinds of things because I did not have a strong sense of self.
mm-hmm,
You know, and so when we dive into the self-love world where you're practicing it every single day,
mm-hmm,
like in my experience, that was the only way that I was able to find myself, you know, because
mm-hmm,
when we're in pain, would you say it's so easy to take something personally because we have a wound that hasn't been understood. It's just
mm-hmm.
been neglected. And so we wear that. And whatever stories or narratives that we have made up in our minds from that pain, that is anything that's going to support that, we're just going to take it, and it's going to hurt us even more, you know? So,
Yeah.
and I love how you brought up the triggers. Like, are we quick to judge? Are we quick to be triggered? And you take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the personal development world and the self-love world and the healing world, being triggered is talked about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just focus on when we do feel triggered, okay, what is it in our life that that this trigger is reminding us of our past, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Or even like, yeah, like, are you quick to be triggered? Are you quick to judge? Or are we quick to understand? Because if you're quick to understand something, you've been practicing something that allows you to not take it personally, remain calm, and just being
Mm-hmm.
able to hold space to understand and watch and listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
And it's very revealing, you know, when, because it's not just like about that person being a racist, but it's like that person doesn't know how to just like take in information. That doesn't have to, you know, it's like, why is that an attack on you? And that's about them and like who they are. And it's so much easier to say than to believe in a moment where
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
somebody, you know, starts to assault, you know, who you are or like your family or things that you really care about. But you just have to know, you know, just know like what your values are and like what you've done and the people that love you for who you are. And it's like really powerful to have that power, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Love this conversation. I
mm,
can go on and on forever. And with everything that's
yes.
going on, I just keep it simple. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, if I see hate that stems from like anger, and where does
Mm-hmm.
anger come from? Bitterness. And where does bitterness come from? It comes from unhealed pains. And where does that come from? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, okay, hate equals ultimately in pain, you know, like ultimately like not a buildup of not feeling heard, you know,
Yeah.
and that's how I've been navigating through this whole thing, you know, like, oh my gosh, there's so much great, but let me just keep it simple for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah. Yeah, because if you know who you are, would you say you'll be able to like, how would I say this? Like the way that we look at things, it won't be as complicated. Like if we know who we are, that means we have healed and dismantled like our own lives, like dismantle that and really like
Yeah,
find our
dismantle.
core.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
like
that
the
takes growth.
lies, right? The lies we've been telling ourselves. the mental
Yes.
system we've lived in of like, you know, just like, oh, you spoke up, your voice doesn't matter, you know, just like this mental loop that we're stuck on our whole lives. So
Mm.
yeah, you really need to just be grounded. And like right now I'm, you know, speaking up at work a lot about what's going on, and like those thoughts are in my head, like what if they fire me, like we're in the middle of a pandemic, like they're wanting to make cuts, but I'm just like, you know, like if they choose to fire me because of what I'm speaking up for right now, then I don't want to be like, I don't know who that, like what that is, but I don't want to be a part of that because I know who I am and like I know where it's coming from. So
Wow. Nikki, anyways, no, I'm
thank
just,
you. I mean,
Nick, I know we've
it's
been
so much
talking, so to hear
easier.
you say that is like, yes,
Yeah.
Nikki.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know why I'm in this mindset today? Because I actually fit in some self-love and like, yeah, like all last week, like anybody that's watching, I was just like, start like, no, I wasn't taking care of myself, you know, like I'm sure a lot of us were on our phone for so often, and I was just wasn't sleeping, and started to realize I would like be absorbing this information, but then I'd like go out and like speak about it, and like I just wasn't very good at getting my words out, and I started to just beat at my brain and started to be like, am I losing people, or like am I not, you know, am I speaking up but I'm not doing it the right way, and like it was just this attack from all sides. But today, like I just woke up and like did some yoga and just like focused on work and like just getting that done, so I didn't feel guilty about it, and cooked and like just did some things while having, you know, conversations with my boss about what we
Wow.
need to do, you know, and I was able to like do that, and I think do it well and make an impact. But if I just wasn't, you know, grounding myself, I'm sure I might have just been like, not today, tomorrow, you know. So
Right? Oh, I hear that. Oh my goodness.
mm-hmm.
Right? And you feel less insecure about it because you're tuning into who you are. You're
Mm-hmm.
practicing the self-love. And so you have less doubts about speaking up about what
Yes.
you actually believe because it's something that you actually believe and something that you have
Mm-hmm.
educated yourself on, something that you
Mm-hmm.
have opened up space to really understand.
Mm.
So I'm hearing so much in that, especially at work. I mean, anyone who's watching, I mean, you know how it is at work sometimes. Like, and then you discover, am I actually in an environment that's actually safe for me to be myself?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
speaking on your beliefs is you being yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it's both like, you know, it can show you that you are safe there, because maybe before you just never spoke up because you were afraid you were going to lose your job. And then you do speak up, and then you realize, wow, people wanted to hear this. And it's like, okay. Okay, like cool. Like this can go
Say,
somewhere.
no one's chopping my head off. Okay. Wow. Cool.
Yeah. But it's, yeah,
That's a
so long.
breath of fresh air. Mm. And
Yes.
that's the
And
thing. See, that's another thing too. Safe space. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
go ahead.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, in community, like having our FEMWINISM talk last night, and like how there was just so much discussion and so much acceptance, that it was just like, okay, like I know I have like this sisterhood, like will always be there for me. And it's like amazing. It's amazing to
Right.
know that,
I
you know?
know.
So,
Right?
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I believe that's our time.
Yes.
Gosh, right? Like anyone who's watching the replay, like what's coming up for you, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so what I heard you through your story of self-love and your experience of self-love is that
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely key because bottom line, you find yourself, you find out who you are. And so because you know who you are, you feel confident in speaking up about
Mm-hmm.
your beliefs and what is going to help even cause a positive effect in your community,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you're doing at work. And you are a part of a community already that is
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you also spoke about, you know, how it's helping you support you in showing up in equality and anti-racism and not
Mm-hmm.
doubting yourself for speaking up and being willing to even admit if you said something wrong or, you know, And you
Yeah.
kind of said something about that earlier, where it's like, it's scary, but once you speak up, you're like you're basically opening yourself up to be willing to learn and have a dialogue about it. And it's
Exactly.
uncomfortable, but you're doing it anyways because that is needed, because you're seeing the gap, you're seeing what's missing, and the self-love journey. There's no way that everything that you mentioned about that would have even come up or be done if it wasn't for your own self-love.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, you guys, share this out if you feel like this is needed in your community. And stay tuned. I am committed to continue my self-love journey. And a part of that is uplifting other people too, and showing you guys how powerful self-love is through the people that I have met and have connected with. And so if you guys are looking for a community, you guys can definitely join the private Facebook group called Self-Love Community. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask me, ask Nikki. Oh, and also, Nikki, forgot to grab this from you, but if people wanted to connect with you or find out about your work or your YouTube or whatnot, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm probably most active on Instagram or here on Facebook. So that's at Nikki Sounds, Nikki Sounds. And then you can always go to my website, nikkisounds.com, where that's a place where I try to, I have my Pink Room production, which is where I'm putting the videos out about the music industry. And it just has links to my music and my email to contact me. So yeah, Instagram, I'm on that too much.
Right, me too, girl. We gotta take, watching our boundaries.
Yeah, quick responses though, Instagram.
Okay. All right, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining, and while you're watching the replay, let us know your thoughts and if you have any questions. And Nikki, thank you again for carving out some of your time to speak up and use your voice and share about your journey and what has become of it. So much love.
Yes.
I'll be talking to you soon. Stay tuned, you guys, for next week. And much love from both of us to you guys.
Yes. Love. Love,
love, love, love. Yes, more of this. Yes, girl. Okay, love that. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good night, girl.
Bye.
Bye.